Welcome to Protea Conversations, the podcast where leadership in business and accounting isn't just discussed, it's explored. I'm your host, Zane Stevens, and I thank you for joining me as we delve into the minds of some of the most influential leaders in the industry. Our journey is one of discovery, from unraveling the unique stories that shaped our guests' careers to the invaluable advice that fueled their success. We are here to provide you with simple, actionable advice to accelerate your career and personal growth. Whether you're a budding professional or a seasoned executive, these conversations are designed to offer insights and perspectives that resonate with everyone. So tune in, engage, and be inspired as we build better leaders together. Welcome to Protea Conversations. Today, our guest is Jeremy Little, a partner at CMPR Attorneys. Jeremy practices in the firm's food and alcoholic beverage group with an emphasis on business formations, business growth, the purchase and sale of companies, and alcoholic beverage compliance. In his work, he counsels various companies, including many in the food, beer, wine, cider, and spirit sector. He assists in developing plans for growth, reorganization, and purchase and acquisition of other businesses or land. Jeremy has helped both startups and seasoned companies raise capital to start operations or increase production and sales, as well as navigate the regulations imposed by the ABC and TTB. Prior to joining CMPR, Jeremy practiced law in Sonoma County for 3 years, and before pursuing his career in law, taught high school for 8 years. He also taught sea kayaking, leading guided tours in southern Maine. As an amateur winemaker and brewer, Jeremy has a keen awareness of the happenings of the alcohol beverage industry and all process involved. And I'm fortunate enough to call him a friend, which is, rare. I don't have too many of those. So, Jeremy's on a small but special list for me. And welcome to the show, Jeremy.
I appreciate it, Zane. Thanks so much. Both a friend and an invitee to Protea Conversations. Really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's great to have you because you do have an interesting career because you did not just jump straight into the law world straight out of high school, but you took a different path. You were first a teacher, and then after some ups and downs, decided to change career. But tell us about that decision to start off in the world of education.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of folks I think do in the legal world we joke as K through JD, kindergarten through law school. Being an attorney going into the law was always part of my on the plate, but after graduation with the typical liberal arts major, I kind of went in a different direction. Both my parents were teachers, aunt and uncle teachers, grandparents teachers. There was a natural pull there, and it was one of those. Well, let me go see if I can save the world first. And really jumped right in. I was working with certain at-risk youth in a wilderness program for 2.5 years, lived outside for 2.5 years, year-round, 24. One of those sort of toughest jobs you ever loved type of experiences, and transitioned to a typical classroom, but boarding school where I was both a dorm parent, teaching 4 different classes, coaching soccer and basketball, and kind of enjoyed that interaction, but there's always a administrative pull, a parental pull, where you don't get to and maybe enjoy as much of that experience as you hope to. After a decade of doing that, I had sort of hit my end and transition. We went to the move back to law school. So cold turkey, left the education world, became a full-time student at age 30. On my 30th birthday, first day of law school, went out as the old person in the classes, and made my move there, and thought I was going to be either come up here and work with land. I love the history of dirt and the transition of how owner to owner to owner. And if anybody knows anything about old deeds, where you get to, you walk 180 chains to the old oak tree that's by the creek. And so you envision these things. And so I taught history, and seeing those aspects of the legal world were a fun intersection for me that got me sort of, I think, first foot into a career.
I mean, I don't want to sort of overlook this, but like a jump in careers at that age, especially the way you did it, where it's just total cold turkey, like, yeah, we go. I mean, that takes some guts, and it couldn't have been an easy decision at the time. So like, what was going through your mind when you made that decision?
Yeah, a part of it, I think, was just, not like 30 is that young, but maybe just a little bit of youthful naivete, ignorance, whatever it was, or also belief in myself, sort of, without, remain humble, but, I knew I could do it. And once I got into law school, immediately first semester, first year, I knew I made the right decision. I knew just from being where I had been and sort of the attributes that I try to instill on my students. And if you're able to communicate and connect and learn and explain difficult situations, difficult topics to teenagers, these were things I knew I could do learning a new topic. I think the financial aspect is probably the hardest thing. Okay, how am I going to make ends meet going, out of job for 3.5 years before I can land something new? But then again, just sort of the doubling down, betting on yourself. I knew I was capable, competent, rational, personal individual that could carry through this. And thankfully it's proven out itself, and I've been able to sort of double down on myself there once getting into law school and continuing since then as a professional.
Definitely worked out in the long term, as you're now a partner at a pretty prestigious firm here in the area, a firm that I trust and respect. So, clearly worked out in the long term. But there were some steps before we got there, right? We finished law school in the 3.5 years, and we went off to a different firm for a couple of years before we moved on.
Yeah. So, first you think, all right, law school, I've got my diploma. Who's going to come knock on my door? And of course, right, you're met with rejection. Some folks just kind of slide right into a large firm. I see some of my, LinkedIn and others where my classmates are now. And those jobs were great right out of law school at some of the larger San Francisco, Palo Alto firms. I've certainly leapfrogged most of them, if not all of them, in the last 15 years, where I came to a Sonoma County, worked for a small firm initially, doing 10 different kinds of law. That brought some experiences, but again, I doubling down on myself, left that firm for another better option, and then was just at a different firm for 1 year before I came to CMPR. And it was sort of the exposure to being an entrepreneur, learning on your own, thinking on your own, meeting people on your own, that separates sort of that intro, those first few years of my legal career as compared to folks that go to larger firms in San Francisco, Palo Alto, LA, etc., where you are kind of put in the back on the 15th floor, stay quiet, be quiet, don't see a client, don't interact with the client, do your work. My experience was very different, where yes, you had to do all that work, but you had client interaction, you had interaction with the government, you had interaction with third-party service providers that was needed to create a team to assist a client. And those are valuable lessons and interactions, relationships built in those first 1 to 5 years that I know very few of my other classmates had coming out of law school.
Yeah, I think that's an underlooked option. I know everybody is running towards the shiny object, and there's a lot of benefits from it that, in terms of opening doors. And, I can't say I went to a small firm. I mean, I was a KPMG, but at the office I was at, I was willing to take the smaller jobs where, I was doing work as a first year that what third years were doing because, I was the only person on the project. So I had to have those conversations. And I do believe, working in those smaller environments, having those interactions that are early age in your career makes a significant difference in who you become over time, because it's invaluable experience that most will, take 3, 4, 5 years to even get. You're getting it in year one, and it's like, okay, well, I just put a rocket booster on my career.
Exactly. There's no replacement really for that personal interaction with a client, with a third-party service. If a client needs an engineer, a surveyor, something like that. Those being able to talk with those folks that are going to be needed and you can rely on. Yeah, you don't. That's not a textbook, right? Nobody's going to teach that. That's experience and repetition.
Yeah, so valuable. So after 3 years at the smaller firm, you went looking, they came looking. How did it sort of come about that you ended up at CMPR?
Yeah, I think it was about a bit mixed. I certainly was looking, and as there's again, Sonoma County is incredible and fabulous to have the events, the opportunities to interact with folks from other firms, folks, whether it's an accounting firm, whether it's another law firm, whether it's an engineering firm, whatever it may be. You start to run into similar folks, have those similar conversations, and eventually it sort of kind of comes, well, are you looking for, you seem like you could probably do something else. Have you thought about that? I'm like, oh, actually you have. I've been thinking about moving on here. Well, we matter of fact, we have an opening. So a lot of it is serendipity, and a lot of it, whether it's the harder I work, the luckier I am. A combination of everything, where you meet, you interact, you follow up, follow through, and opportunities start to show themselves. And that's really kind of how it happened. And was lucky enough to land here at CMPR in 08.
The value of networking, right? Making sure you have a network, use that network, talk to the network, because you never know when an opportunity will fall into your lap.
100%. And the stronger your network, and as long as the folks in that network, you're doing your part, show up, be competent, be reasonable, it pays dividends.
I mean, we're both not from the area, so we know how extra important it is, because it is a pretty tight-knit community. I mean, not just like Sonoma County, North Bay, but, the greater sort of alcohol beverage space as well. That's extremely tight.
Indeed. I mean, your accent might be a little stronger still than my accent. Mine's diminished a little bit over time. But yeah, we talk about sort of the struggles you come into this area. My initial networking interactions, most of the folks were talking about the different high schools, the high school rivalries that they have here in the county. And I'm standing in the background, hey, anybody want to talk about the Boston Celtics? And I just, I get dirty looks. You have to do, I think, my mind, I think you have to do more, work harder, show up 10 times more than the next person, be responsible, and be accountable. And you start to get through that initial layer of, my best friend is an attorney. And what kind of attorney? Well, they do criminal law, so they should be able to help with my business. Mm-hmm. And they may not trust you the first time and say, well, that's not the best idea. Right. But you're there, and you continue to meet, interact, and it starts to happen.
Yeah, such great advice. So you said you joined CMPR I'm assuming not as a partner. So what was that process from entry level at the firm to partner like?
Yeah, much of the same. So you again, definitely did not come over as a partner in my third year in the career. And it's the duality, I think, of, again, being an attorney in this area, where you can, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit and work ethic, you're able to really kind of grow a business. So, but you can't grow that business without a strong basis, strong foundation of your education, of your knowledge in those legal fields, right? So it is a ton of time and work to become competent to as best as you can in those legal areas to grow that network. So it's great to have a network and to speak with folks, but if you don't have the knowledge and expertise in those areas, you're going to fall flat on your face pretty quick. So that's the sort of two paths that I was moving as fast as I could down. But it's time and energy and presence. It's participating, being engaged, and being involved. And it was, at the same time, I had two relatively newborn children. So it's, when I joined here in Carl Mackey, in 1.5 and a newborn, 2 sons. So it's then you got to juggle that. So you're doing everything, right? And it's a process. But now looking back, I mean, it's one that was full of bits of knowledge every place I went and everything I did. So again, it's that path of sort of getting introduced and being respected and trusted by local folks at gaining that knowledge here, and then being a father.
Do you think the starting career as a teacher with a lot of that skill? I mean, a lot of what you're doing was herding cats and teaching people how to learn. So did that learning base help you?
Yeah. So many different levels. So one, just the nuances of the law, convoluted. So it takes someone like myself. I'm still taking a half an hour to read and dissect and understand what that means, and then apply it to what the client's business is. Now I've needed to explain that to the client in a way that client will understand and be able to intake. And same when you're speaking to teenagers about complicated issues of history, you have to be able to convey that so they understand and learn. At the same time, same thing when you're teaching and you have a project. Right. There's follow through, there's follow up, there's accountability. And when I'm working through major M&A transactions, the buying and selling of different companies, there's always that end goal, whether that in teaching is sort of into the semester, where we're going to end with these students. When I'm working with clients on a purchase of a company, purchase of land and company, there are 100 different touch points, items that we need to check off as we go through that process. Where are we in diligence? Where are we with, when we do diligence, there's 20 different categories within that one umbrella that you need to follow and check and ensure that everything is being done. So when we get to it, we can, again, I can take in, synthesize, and explain to my client. So I think having a bit of that foundation and actual professional work before I got here certainly helped.
Until they decided, hey, Jeremy's pretty good person, maybe we should make him a partner. How long was that journey?
I still have knocked down the door a few times. So there's again kind of the difference between a larger firm where it's sort of the up or out. Once you get to 7 or 9 years at a large firm, if you have not become partner, then you're probably going to leave that firm. And they have different criteria. So again, most firms here in Sonoma County, North Bay, again, you need to be an entrepreneur and have your own set of business. So it took nearly 10 years. So it's 10 years to get enough of my own clients, right? So you have to be, you own a business. I can't become a partner of a business without at least carrying my own weight, right? And so to do that means I have to become a partner at this firm of our size where we have 25 attorneys, 25 other staff. So it's more than just carrying my own weight. I need to be able to support an entire firm along with my other partners. So someone who wants to be a partner, it's not just meaning you have a couple of clients and you can live off those clients. You really do need to have a large book of business because it's not just you. It is the staff, the assistants, the paralegals. It's the utilities. It's paying for the lease and everything else that comes with running a business. So I would advise, advising my own business clients, you wouldn't want to bring someone into whatever, say to a winery, give somebody the ownership of a winery if they're not carrying their weight. Again, so 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears. And lucky enough, I got to the point where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, partnerships are interesting, as you put it, right? You have to be the entrepreneur. You are effectively running your own business within a business. Yep. Obviously, what comes with a firm is that you have a little bit of infrastructure that will help you along the way and support of people who have other knowledge that you don't necessarily have, which is generally pretty helpful. But it's still a challenge. You still have to show that you can do it, right? Like you should be able to pop off separately and operate to be able to be part of this partnership.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, with the firm, lucky to be at CMPR because when you get to that point where, again, as I mentioned, you participate, you engage, you're present, and folks start to respect and trust you. Then they can come to me with a myriad of problems. I won't go to court for a client. That's not what I do. But we have an incredible group of litigators that are seasoned, experienced, and so when I can start to bring that in and start to grow my business, and it works both ways because they do the same. Everybody does the same thing at our firm where we get to we share pretty equally in our clients. Yeah,
that's great. Have that support, and they're all good people. I know a lot of the people over at CMPR, so Jeremy's very lucky to have a great bunch of professionals working alongside him, which I know makes a big difference.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
As a partner, give us an insight into what your day-to-day, what does that mean as a partner of a law firm? What is that? What is that day? I mean, I'm sure it's just like my days, which are just all over the place, but I'm sure there's some structure.
No, I don't think there's any structure. It's you wake up and you don't know. It could be the elevator's broken. The heat is out or the AC is out, depending, right? Whatever season it is. The administrative pieces that come with owning a business, right, can take you in 18 different directions. Like, I have a closing this Friday. I had a closing last Friday. I have clients calling with a great new sales and marketing plan that violates every tight house rule that you can think of across the country, but they want to get it launched next week. And so that sort of chaos, and I've joked with you, Zane, and others that sort of the juggling chainsaws approach is much of the day. You want to keep the chainsaws in the air while you're looking around and making sure there's nothing coming at you that's going to take your focus away. So there is that sort of the juggling, whether it's an HR issue with internally, whether it's dealing with our landlord, whether it's dealing with the buyer's council, seller's council, whatever kind of deal I'm in. But those are all, it is a constant. And as you, and I'm sure plenty of other business owners out there, you might have 5 things that you want to check off on your day. I want to do these 5 things today. And there's oftentimes you get into the office and you maybe start that first one and you don't get to 2 through 5 because, there's something that is throwing a wrench in your day and off you go. And so being, again, that sort of nimble, flexible, competent, and responsive, those are the qualities that seem to be most used. So yeah, a normal day, the normal day is that. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, sometimes that number 5 gets ticked off early the next morning because you're just making sure you get through it all.
Because you have to, or right, you finish out the day, you go back, you take care of your kids, you feed them, you make sure they're doing their homework, and then you get back on and you finish 2, 3, 4, 5 because they have to be.
It's the challenges of owning a business. They never switch off, right? They just keep going.
The business is there. It's always going to be there, which right, it's a blessing. It's good to have some of those problems.
You talk about the interactions with your clients, and you are obviously in a space where there is tons of red tape, lots of regulation. I mean, for people who don't know, alcohol beverage law in this country is absolutely nuts. Every state has a different set of laws, and even the laws within states aren't consistent with each other. So it's a tricky space. Like, what is that sort of approach with these clients that come with them? Because I know you've obviously got the very sophisticated big entities that are smart people do it, and then you got the guys on the side of the street who just wants to start a business. He doesn't know the laws, but he has a fantastic product. He just wants to get it going. How do you deal with those interactions and that diversity of knowledge that you have to deal with on a daily basis?
A lot of times I'll start off apologizing to the client, saying, I might say no to you a lot. Right. And that's just sort of an initial, hey, we're not selling socks and t-shirts. This is a highly regulated commodity, and it is right with different regulations and restrictions. That said, let's figure out a way to say yes to something. A lot of times start off at that higher level of let's realize that I am the paid pessimist. I am here to make sure that you don't get in trouble. But what is it that you want to do? What is it you're looking for at the end of the day? Let's try to figure out a way within the law to get you there and to get you successful and not bankrupt you. The last thing I'm going to do is, spend hours and hours. It's going to be a dead end. You can tell the client, no, let's figure something else out. Again, what is that client's ultimate end goal? Because a lot of times they're going to create a lot of their own obstacles without realizing what their end goal truly is. And if I can understand that end goal, I can help get through the maze of regulation to get them there.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. An attorney is somebody you're paying to protect you, rather than I think sometimes the perception is that you're being paid to get them out of trouble, and having a business attorney is like somebody who you're using to make sure you never get into trouble. Right.
Well, and I think a lot of folks there's a bit of a, I don't know where the belief came from that somehow I'm also the police. So they don't want to tell me everything that they have going on. They want to hide this secret because they think it's wrong. They're like, well, that actually is going to make it worse. I need to know everything that you want to accomplish or what you are doing. And then we can work backwards. We can mitigate any potential, and we can get around or do certain things slightly different to make sure that we are in compliance with the law. So you do not get in trouble. I'm not here to turn anybody in. That's the worst attorney. So
sure.
Here to help.
Tell your attorney everything you possibly can. Tell your accountant only what they need to know.
Is that on a t-shirt?
Exactly. Got to make some money from that one. So you've shared a few snippets of the journey, but I'd love to hear on this journey from heading out of high school, becoming a teacher, joining law school at an old age of 30, falling into a firm in Sonoma, moving to CMPR, becoming a partner. There had to be some challenges along the way, and I would love to just sort of hear what from a professional as well as a personal side, what are the biggest challenges in your career from get-go to where you are right now?
Yeah, I think, this use the word, work-life balance, a lot. And I mean, it's true. I mean, as I describe sort of the necessity of work and being present at many levels, whether it's networking and gaining a trusted set of folks that can rely on me and I can rely on them, as well as becoming an expert in these legal fields. You have a family that is new and is growing, and I'm coaching the sports and there at back to school and those kinds of things. But that, again, that juggling of your just life, and then you need some mental, health, wellness every once in a while. But that is always, for me, certainly was that the biggest struggle, finding that time where I could do it all. And nobody wants to say no. We all want to say yes to every request that comes by. We want to be there for everyone and want everyone to know you're there. And that process, and that's a 25-hour day, right? And we have 24 of them, and you're supposed to have some sleep in there, and you want to make everybody know that you're there. So that balance, that's, I think, probably a continual struggle, not just for me, but for anybody who's putting in that work. But again, repetition, experience. All right, I shouldn't do this. I got to do this. You find your way through. Much harder 15 years ago than it is now. And, who knows in the next 15 years.
Yeah, it's always, finding that balance between life and work is tough, because the only way to really learn is to fail. And sometimes those fails can be massive by experience.
And, nobody sets out in any profession and says, you know what, for the first 5 years, I'm just going to fail. I want to fail over and over again. Yeah, nobody wants to do that. You probably get fired. But as long as those little hiccups are not substantial, then hopefully you learn, and the damage is minimized.
And the key point there is hopefully you learn, right? Learn from those mistakes. Don't just get into the pity party and move on.
Yep.
Assess them, learn, and move forward.
100%. You learn and grow. And like I said, 15 years ago, it was very difficult because I hadn't done it before. And you do fail, you struggle, but the learning is important and the repetitions are important. And then, that next year, all right, I'm a little better at this, I'm a little better at that. I need to get better in these areas. I want to minimize this over here because it's taken away from something else. And then, before you know it, it's become easier.
Yeah, with time, I think our priorities become clearer in front of our eyes as well. That really helps a lot to sort of understand where we need to spend our time, and makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and you do kind of get into that groove when everybody jokes like, "Oh, it's already the end of January, and it's gonna be the end of the year before you know it," and then we're on to into the next year. And it is the days are long, the years are short. People have heard that and said that. It happens, and because of that, as you go through the process of learning the day in, the day out, family, work, extracurricular, you do find yourself falling into a pattern, into a groove that is, if you've learned, then it's good for you, and you accelerate on that pattern.
Good advice. So why don't you share with us sort of, been a partner for a while, but what are the next goals in Germany? What are your short-term goals for your profession as well as your personal life?
Yeah, I think profession, so CMPR, we opened an office in St. Helena, middle of last year. We opened an office in Lake Oswego in Oregon. So professionally, myself and a couple of the other partners here, really our goal is to expand that area, expand that footprint, put time into those two areas. And again, back to learning how to juggle my work, my life with being in Napa, trying to get it into Oregon. So, professionally, it's instilling work ethic amongst the younger attorneys here, and expanding the CMPR footprint, making sure that we have a healthy, viable company that grows in the same sort of values that we've had here at CMPR since before I was here. We look at excellence and teamwork and caring for our community. And as you grow, you want to make sure that those values, integrated into new people coming on board. So hopefully we're spending time and working and growing, expanding footprint and presence with our 2 new offices is certainly number one on my on the professional side. Right along with just caring for the clients that I have now, attracting more clients, newer clients, and working with them on their business plan. Personally, it's putting time in with my 2 boys, sophomore, junior in high school, the juniors, starting the college search, that whole new world. Sophomores right behind him. So they both play. They're both on the varsity basketball team, which is fantastic, which is awesome for me. They're on the same team finally, and that's great. That helps to balance juggle my time. They're both
for sure
on the same team. So make this helping them as much as I can. Again, going through those same, everything's new to them. So they've never been through the college application time, right? They've never looked at colleges before. So this is all one of these great things. You kind of relive your teenage years again, and you get to go do that. So, on a personal level, looking forward to seeing that through to fruition.
Talk about years are short, right? They're nearly out, and it's the moment we all look forward to, but it's also one of the saddest moments at the same time.
My sister has my niece is she's first year in college, and every other week I get a text how she's sad, and I'm like, we still have my nephew, your son. Well, there's only one left. And I'm like, well, I think I don't know what she's going to do. But yeah, we go through this. We want it. We spend all this time, but we may complain about how we're getting dragged to this event or that event for our children, and then they're going to be off to college. So trying to sit back and enjoy that.
Yeah, and I'm still new in it with a 6 and 8 year old, and I think we have 21 days straight of sport before we have our first break this year. So I know the pain, but at the same time, I know I'm going to miss it when it's gone. So
exactly. Yep. Enjoy it.
So let's talk about the best piece of advice that you've ever received. What advice? Obviously I had smart parents that were teachers, but I'm sure there's some good advice in the line that helped you through your career. What was that advice? What is that sort of piece of advice that stuck in your head along the journey?
There wasn't one person one time that sort of had that, top of the mountain, you meet the sage, here's this piece of advice, it changed my life. My parents were both just always explore, do what you feel is going to make you the best person. It wasn't go to this profession, go to that profession, go to this company, go to that company, go to this state, go to that state. Go search, look at a lot, and see what best fits you. Other mentors, if you will, that I've worked with, interacted with, I think what I've done more than anything is see how they operate and try to pull pieces that I thought were effective and that would fit my personality and my work. So I can't copy John Mackey, founding partner here. Right? I'm not going to copy what they are because they're their own person. They had their own unique circumstances. But I can certainly see 5, 10 things that they do day in, day out, and grab some of those that will work with me, my personality, my clients, my life, my strategy. And same with other folks that I meet, even clients who are running successful businesses, having those conversations, looking and seeing what they do, following up with having those conversations about how they get through their obstacles, learn, pull, take those bits and nuggets from them as I view them and pull them in and use them myself. And again, right, that learning process. Some of them work for me, some don't. Find the ones that do and double down on those. So I wish it was that great piece of advice that somebody had just, said to me over lunch, 15 years ago. If you just do this, nothing, don't worry about anything else. But like I said, it's been a lot of observation and trial and error.
Yeah, I like it. So I love the lesson of go explore. I think that is amazing advice received from your parents. And, again, as a parent of young kids, I'm going to try and instill that in them. Just go explore, try different things, have fun, find what you love. That I really, really love that. And then the other one, I'm sorry to interrupt, your second piece of advice is just, You start using your ears a little bit more. Listen to what people are saying. You'll pick up great advice if you just shut your mouth and listen.
Yeah, the observation piece. Yeah, and we all, I think, at every age, you're 22, you get out of college, like I need to find a job right now, otherwise I will be doomed forever. But if there's not the job there for you, right, that exploration, and when you can do that exploration and observe again, listen and learn from others, not like I'm a poster child of what you should do, but starting law school at 30 wasn't horrible. Right? It wasn't because I had failed at what I had done before I needed something. It was just a continuation of my own journey of exploration, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a great journey with some good success along the way, and continued success in the future. But do you think there was some piece of advice that you'd wished you had found out on that might have sort of changed some of your thought process, maybe made your life a little bit easier?
So, I mean, I think this is not, I mean, there might be a law school out there that teaches it now, but for me, where I am now, it's the business of the business. I wish there had been something, hey, so you're moving along in your career, in a few years, you look like you probably will be partner. If you continue this, here's the things that you need to know about being an owner of a business. And I don't, that piece of advice would have been incredibly useful. It's not, there's not a class at a law school that says, here's how you run your business. And maybe it's just something you're supposed to learn and glean as you go through. But hey, here's what being an attorney does not mean just billing hours and doing your work and going home. There is this whole other element to what you need to do day in and day out, not just to be a successful attorney, but to have a successful firm. And that would have been nice to have some of that knowledge 15 years ago, just to know what's coming down the pike. Yeah, that would have been, because that you need to show up, you need to work, you need to bill hours, you need to learn, you need to do what the partner at that time tells you to do. But hey, there's this whole other aspect of being an attorney you need to know.
Yeah, so I recommend anybody who's got those electives in college, go do Accounting 101 and go do Business 101 and actually pay attention. Don't just be there to get the credits. Learn how to read a set of financials and have the basics of how a business operates. It'll make such a big difference in anything that you do going forward. And then lean on your network. I mean, you've got that, and that's a great way to learn because you bump into people that have gone through it. And I promise you, everybody wants to talk about what happened in the past, and everybody wants to share their thoughts and ideas. So if you ask, they will tell you.
It's 100%. People do love to share their stories, and again, that's part of that observation and listening. But yeah, that's great advice. Saying you have those simple business 101, accounting 101. That would have been immensely useful, beneficial. I think to anybody starting out when they ask, what should I do? That's it right there.
Yeah. So let's talk leadership for a little bit. Clearly, a leader is a teacher, one of the biggest leadership positions that anybody can take on. You're now a leader at CMPR as a partner, and I know that you're a leader in the community through the various organizations that you're a part of, and that takes a lot. Being a leader is not easy. So is there any advice that you could share with us that helped the leader that you are today?
I think engaging and being, people can see through anything, right? So if you come off as fake, that's going to be picked up and seen immediately. So I think folks know I am who I am. I don't really kind of try to come off as something other than. So being true to myself and being present and engaged with anybody that I'm around, whether it was a freshman in high school that I was teaching or coaching, or now with clients, folks like yourself, others in that my firm, my clients work with. I know I'm not going to be the smartest person in every room. There's other people who are far smarter, more experienced that I want to listen to. And I think having that ability to be humble, hungry, listen, engaged, and being honest, those things I think have helped me convey different ideas, different paths forward for others. and have people look back to me for answers. So yeah, that I think, again, back to being present, being engaged, and listening. Once people see that, I think they start to understand you're just not there to take their business and charge them, but there to help and there to assist. The biggest thing I can do is have folks come back again and again, right? So the more honest and trusted I am, then they return that fivefold, tenfold. So as far as being that leader, that part has helped, whether it's in the nonprofits world, business world, just here at the firm, having the door open and being honest and after listening.
Yeah, that's great advice. And the biggest lesson I always get from Jeremy is be true to yourself. Jeremy is always Jeremy, and I appreciate that. I know who I'm talking to, and I know I can trust what he's saying because Jeremy is Jeremy every day of the week.
Yeah, I try to. Right? At some point, it becomes part of.
Good. Yeah. Okay, Jeremy, let's get into the fun stuff. Who cares about this business world stuff? Tell us about you, what you do in your spare time. What makes you Jeremy?
Well, as I mentioned before we hopped on here, I don't have my lobster buoys in the background. Being true to myself, I'm from Maine, the great state of Maine, where it's probably 32 degrees out today. And that's probably why I live here, where it's 70 today. But I love Maine. My two boys born here in California, but they treat Maine as a home also. My parents are still there. So in my free time, I think about Maine. I have my Boston sports teams that keep me occupied pretty much nonstop. Again, too much the angst and anger of our fellow friends who will ride me with all the San Francisco and other teams. But every activity that my boys are involved in, that's again that's my time away from here. I try to exercise. I try to enjoy myself with everybody else out here. But Maine, getting back there every summer, making sure I get on a few trips. The coast here is almost as nice as the coast in Maine. So when I get the free time, I definitely head out to Bodega Bay. It's beautiful, and that's a nice spot to be.
Right. Tradition at Protea Conversations is to do some rapid fire questions. I have 5 of them for you. Let me know when you're ready.
5 full questions. I'm ready.
Right. What is your dream vacation?
I think New Zealand. I think a road trip on both islands in New Zealand would be incredible.
You're not going to hike from the south to the north or the north to the south?
I'm not going to hike. I'm too old for hiking.
Grab those boys and take them on an adventure. It only takes like 60 days.
Oh, sure. No problem.
Do you prefer audiobooks or paper books?
Paper. I'm not sure reading. Can you say you've read a book if you've listened to it on an audio?
I'd say it all the time.
Nope. Paper book.
Okay. If you have 20 minutes to exercise, what would that exercise be?
Probably going for a run. I'm no Phil Knight, but ran track in high school. I've run pretty much since then, nonstop. So I love just throwing on shoes and going out for 20, 30 minutes as much as I can, hopefully away from people and cars.
That's always helpful.
Yes.
What is your favorite piece of technology that you currently use to make your life easier?
I probably have not found that piece of technology yet. I feel that the more technology I use, it almost complicates my life more. Maybe you can help me on that one, Zane, and find me the piece of technology that really helps. I think I'm going to, there's the ring that you can wear that helps you, know your heart rate, your blood flow, and your sleep. I might try that, and I'll get back to you on how well that's working.
I must say, I just got an Apple Watch a couple of months ago, and it's very judgmental, and that's made a big difference in my consistency on my health side of life. So, those make a difference as well.
All right. Yep.
Last question. What was your favorite childhood meal?
Probably pizza. Yeah, pizza. And it might still be today. I love pizza. Almost any kind. Probably not ones with red sauce and pineapple. I don't think that's a true pizza. But just about any other kind. And it's like again, blessed being here. There are fantastic folks out there that make amazing pizzas. And when I go back home to Maine, I still go to that same pizza house. It's not as good, but it's a memory. It's a memory.
Nostalgia sometimes is more important than the taste.
100%. Love it.
And with that, we end another Protea Conversations. Thank you for joining us in the journey of learning and inspiration. Today we've gained insights from our guest and taken another step towards understanding the diverse tapestry of leadership in business and accounting. Remember, each conversation is a step towards the positive transformation of business leaders. We hope our discussions have given you valuable takeaways to apply in your own career and life. Don't forget to subscribe to Protea Conversations on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so connect with me on social media channels. I'm most active on LinkedIn and would love you to join the conversation. Join us next time for more engaging stories, advice, and conversations that matter. Until then, keep striving for excellence and embracing growth. Thank you for listening. Be kind, and goodbye from Protea Conversations.